Today on No Pain, No Business, I've got someone I've worked with personally for the last 10 years or so now, I think. He runs a wealth management company built on long-lasting relationships and a genuine care for his clients and personal and business goals, which I can obviously personally vouch for. Um, he's a bit of a demon on the golf course as well, so I've heard, although I've never actually seen the evidence, so we'll have to see about that. With no further ado, I'm very pleased to introduce today's guest, owner of Ingram Wealth, Rob Ingram. How's it going, Rob?
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for inviting me on and for the nice introduction. I'll have to get you out on the golf course and show you what it's really like.
Oh god, you don't want to see me on the golf course. I'm bad enough at the driving range, let alone a golf course. So, Rob, who are you? Who's Rob Ingram? What is Ingram Wealth?
So I'm Rob. I'm a husband. I'm a father of two beautiful daughters, which pretty stressful at times, arguably more so than running the business. I'm a big sports fan. Play a lot of golf. I have a new obsession with paddle. So we'll have to get you out playing paddle as well, Chris.
Yeah.
And then in my working days, I have run for the last 11 years Ingram Wealth, a financial planning firm down here in Cardiff. We specialise in helping business owners, company directors plan for the future to give themselves the best opportunity for their future and to have the business that they want to have ultimately.
Yeah, brilliant. And how's the new addition to your family? You know, Rob's recently had a newborn baby, so that's why the stress levels maybe a little bit higher than usual.
Yeah, six weeks into our second daughter, it's challenging. Sleep mainly is very challenging.
Yeah.
And trying to get into the office at 9 o'clock, ready for the day ahead, with two fully dressed, fully fed kids at home, can be a bit of a challenge. But we're loving it. To be honest, my wife is amazing mother, fantastic with the kids, and has made that transition much easier, and is a great support to me to allow me to do what I do in terms of running the business and supporting the family.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of the people listening can relate to that, trying to balance kind of family life and running a business. It's hard work. My youngest is 9 now, so I'm kind of getting through the tail end of the last one going through primary school. But you wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, it's a hell of a juggle. This morning we had my daughter at 6:15, so I've got 2.5-year-old as well, want to be dressed up as Elsa with the crown and the dress and even the blonde plait, and then trying to get her out of that dress then to start the day and go out. It's a lot happens before 9 o'clock at home when you've got kids, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, this might sound like a bit of a simple or silly question in some ways, but what actually is wealth? You do provide wealth management. So for the people listening who maybe don't fully appreciate what that means, how would you kind of describe wealth?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, because I think certainly what we do in terms of financial planning, people associate finance with money, with wealth, with money, and the reality, the clients that we deal with, wealth is about far much more than the money side of things. It is about your values as a person. It's about how you see yourself and the impact that you want to have in your life, and that doesn't have to be about money. That can be about your vocations and the things you want to do for others, the legacy that you want to leave, and how you want to live your life today and in the future. And having a wealthy life is about having a balance of those things, far more than just about money.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I mean, that I think is what, again, a lot of people relate to, that particularly recently following COVID and everything else over the last few years, that people are certainly appreciating their time, I guess, more so than specifically money. And you're right, I think, wealth instantly generates kind of connotations of people being rich and having lots of money and things like that, when actually that definition has probably changed significantly, I would have thought, over the last few years.
Yeah. We see wealth as very much a fluid thing. Money comes, money goes, but it's about how you live your life and the experiences that you choose to have, and how you use that money to enable those experiences, or the freedom and security that you want to have in your life. That value of what is wealthy or what is rich is very much an individual thing to individual people.
Yeah. And I would imagine that it's when you're in finance and you're working within wealth management, do you find it's difficult to stand out or find a specific niche at all? How do you do that? Because obviously a lot of the business owners that are probably going to be listening to this also work in sort of quite well-known sectors, I suppose, where you're having to sort of carve out your own audience, really. So how do you manage to do that? Do you find that difficult at all?
Yes, it is difficult to stand out. I mean, there are plenty of, let's say there's plenty of financial advisors out there, and there's plenty of good ones and everything else. What I just try and focus on is relationship. We do financial planning, not financial advice. I don't give advice on products. I give financial planning guidance or advice to allow you to achieve goals and values, or much more goals and values linked, rather than, okay, you have a sum of money, here's a product that suits that sum of money. So we really try and focus on the client first and the client relationship first. We've tried to build a process in the business that is for the client and to attract a certain type of client. And we talk about the great advice we give to those clients that do come, and in many cases our clients are advocates for our business because they've had a great experience. So if we lead with the client experience and the client value first, that I like to think is what sets us apart. And I want to work with people that I get on with and that I can relate to, and I think the clients that want to work with me have a similar mindset. There are plenty of, I'm not all things to all people, and there's plenty of other advisors out there if someone else is better matched, but it seems to have worked for us over the past few years, especially just leading with the client experience. We've managed to carve out a bit of a niche towards business and work with business owners.
Yeah.
Obviously I am one, so that's an instant point of relation.
That helps.
Rather than there's other sectors maybe that I don't have as much experience in or cannot directly relate to, there'll be someone else who can. So I think I've kind of found that niche very, very naturally. And then it's just about showing the good work we do and how we can come to the client and benefit the client. I love face-to-face meetings, to be perfectly honest. We've set the office here optimised for face-to-face meetings rather than Zoom. I do a lot of Zoom, but actually I do like to sit around a table with a client and thrash things out over a coffee and across the table.
Yeah, I can just say it's worth meeting Rob just to see his new office, because it's a lovely office that's very recently been refurbished, and you can see a little bit of it in the background, but he's got a lovely coffee machine there as well. I know you're very proud of, Rob. And it is a really nice machine. Yeah, I know, and it is as you said, it really feels like it's set up for for exactly what we've talked about, really, and it does project that. Anybody that gets a chance to meet Rob in his office will, I'm sure, also be able to vouch for that. So yeah, again, kind of a great answer, really, and definitely my experience working with you is exactly that. That you genuinely care about the person that you're speaking to, and it's not necessarily all about finance and pensions and all the stuff that that people tend to associate financial and wealth management with. So Here's a question for you then. I think a lot of people listening probably a little bit younger. Why should, if you're a younger person, why should you care about wealth management? Is it just for old fogies like me?
Old fogies like you, Chris, bloody hell. So, I'm about to turn 40, and the grey hairs from 2 kids might suggest I'm older than that, but I'm turning 40 in a couple of weeks, and the last 10 years has gone in a flash.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, we're young, and then time catches up.
Yeah.
The best way to build wealth is to start young. You know, both my children, we have started saving and investing for their futures before they even know about it. So even if you're young and you do not have huge capacity to save huge amounts of money, little and often makes a huge difference over time. I just challenge anyone to go onto a compound interest calculator, put some numbers in and see what comes out the other end. So young people should care about wealth management and their finances because it is their future. And I have that same attitude in this business now. I'm not working for the Rob of today. I have no physical boss to tell me what to do. My boss is Rob in 10 years' time, or in 20 years' time. I'm living for that person. I'm growing the business and saving and investing myself for that person in the future. Because guess what? Time passes, and before we know it, I'm going to be approaching 50 with even more grey hairs. And if I haven't done my bit, then I've let that person down. I'm the only person that will stop me being the person I want to be at 50. And so that's why saving and having an understanding about who you want to be and how you want your future to look at a young age is really, really important. And I kind of wish, even on my side, as a financial planner, as a father, I started this business at 28. I wish I'd started in my early 20s.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at the time of recording, I've not long turned 40, so I'm a little bit ahead of you, unfortunately, and I know exactly the feeling of time disappearing, especially those 10 years between 30 and 40 have absolutely vanished. You know, you're totally right. And I love that, what you said about being your own boss, 10 years ahead. I think, again, there's going to be a lot of people listening who are maybe freelancers or entrepreneurs or people who either run the business or literally just work for themselves, and sometimes you need that little reminder that you're doing the best you can now for that 50-year-old boss. The trick is to shave your head and then you don't get any grey hairs. Because I'm not bald, it's a fashion choice.
It's a fashion choice, okay. Definitely don't all say that.
No.
I think it goes for your business as well. I mean, you got to always be looking forward and have a future goal in mind and be able to project the person and the type of business that you want to have in 5 years or 10 years. And if you project that now, that gives you the best opportunity to get there.
Yeah.
Almost be that person now. Or run the business as if you are that business doing your industry that you ideally want in 5 years' time. Run it like that now. And that will help you get there.
Yeah, and I think that's actually really good advice in general when you're trying to build any sort of project, whether it's a business or just an element of that business, just getting on and kind of firstly starting and doing it, but secondly running it. And there is a phrase, isn't there, where you, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but where you kind of project the person that you want to be. And if you start acting like it, eventually that's where you'll get. So some really, really good advice. Okay, so the podcast is called No Pain, No Business. There's been a bit of a lack of pain in the episode so far, I think, so I'm going to turn the screw on you a little bit now, Rob. This is going to be a question I ask all of my guests. So what do you think is the most painful part of running a business on your own, running your own business?
Yeah, we painted quite a rosy picture so far. But,
Yeah.
you know, all the things you see around you, and all the things you might see on social media, whatever, all of that brings pressure. You know, as the business owner, you are constantly under pressure. You're responsible for everything that happens, every decision that's made, whether they're good decisions, bad decisions. I personally find it very, very difficult to switch off. I honestly believe that there's not a waking hour of my day goes by where I don't think or act on something in the business.
Yeah.
And that could be a thought on, I need to give that client a call. Like, you know, they called me a day ago and I haven't returned the call yet. I need to do that. Or emails come in and I'm playing with my daughter, and you don't want to be distracted from playing with your daughter, but you want to answer the emails important to you. It's
Yeah.
finding that balance and being able to release that pressure and that constant thought that's going in your head of what's the next thing on the sort of hamster wheel is a really tricky thing. And you have to find your own way to sort of release that pressure valve. You know, because I want to be a good husband, I want to be a great father, and I want to run a fantastic business that provides for those and gives me the personal satisfaction that I want as well. So you've got to find a method of controlling the pressure. And when you get that wrong, that can be painful, not only for you but for those around you that have to put up with the times where the pressure gets a little bit too much, I guess.
Yeah, totally relate to that. Excellent. And with that kind of in mind, do you think the pressure's ever got to the point where you've considered giving up and doing something else and doing the old stacking shelves in? It's always Tesco's, isn't it?
Yeah.
Other supermarkets are available, Aldi's, any nothing wrong with stacking shelves, but that sort of, the idea is that you have that consistent, just you go and do your job, you can shut off from it. So have you ever thought, I'm just going to sack this in?
I think over 11 years I must have quit about 1,000 times. But
only 1,000.
Only 1,000, maybe 1,000 in 2026 so far. But I just never said it out loud. Because we all have those thoughts, we all have those demons, we all have those times where we doubt ourselves and doubt the decisions we're making. And, I've made mistakes. I've made so many mistakes over that time that at the time you see as it's a catastrophe, it's a disaster, but then a little bit of time passes and you get a bit of perspective and you get a bit more level-headed with things, and then the next thing will come and oh my god, it's a disaster, I want to quit again. And I think it's part of running a business, and it's part of being a human being, isn't it? We doubt ourselves at times. We have times where we feel confident, so we can take on the world, and no one can beat us, and all that. And there's times when it's a bit tougher and it's a bit more of a grind. And I think the businesses that truly succeed are the individuals that are just able to just take it, just find a method to take it, put it in a box and move on. And if you can't, then maybe it's better to be part of a bigger team or part of someone else, or have other people come in to try and plug the gaps that you're struggling with. But still, it's a constant pressure, isn't it? So
yes, yeah, absolutely. And has there ever been a specific period that's been a sort of this sounds awful now, but there's been a particularly low or difficult period that you've had to deal with, whether it's kind of well, I suppose stuff happens personally as well, but generally around the business.
Yeah, I think as the business matures, the pressure changes and the problems change, and they don't get easier. They just change and become different types of pressures. But I'll just go back to a story from early on, because most business people who've been doing this 10, 11 years will have been on this journey. But for those that might be watching that's starting out, and it is that first, if you can survive the first 5 years and really get a foothold, then you just adapt and get used to the pressure. Now, I'd been running the practice for 18 months or so. My dad, who is also financial planner throughout his career, someone I looked up to hugely, both in business, and he was a top golfer as well. He's captained Walker Cup and Junior Ryder Cup, and had some amazing golfers work with him, like Rory McIlroy. Amazing, really.
Yeah.
So I was up. My dad was chairman of selectors for GB&I at the Walker Cup. I think this was 2015 now, at Lytham St Anne.
Wow.
And I went up to support him as chairman of GB&I. Suddenly, on the morning of the tournament, Dad fell quite ill. He'd actually had an abscess on his brain, and at that point it ruptured. He collapsed, called 999.
Jeez.
We were rushed to Preston Hospital, and it was clearly very, very serious, and they called in their top neurosurgeon, and he went straight down to theatre. He spent then the next 2 months in a pretty bad way, and it was very 50-50 to what the outcome would be. Even if he survived, a brain injury, what is it going to impact mobility or his ability to speak or memory or any of these sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I was early days into the business, with obviously living in Cardiff, with a dad that spent 2 months in hospital in Preston, which is about 3.5 hours, 4 hour drive away.
Easily.
And I'd spend the week working in the business, and then it was a Tuesday and a Thursday. I used to drive up to Preston in the day, go visit him, drive back in the evening, go into work on a Wednesday. And obviously it was, you're having the conversations with doctors about what the outcome could be. And in the early days of the business, cash flow was really tight.
Yeah.
I had completely coincidentally had a bit of a dry spell in terms of having new business pipeline. And I remember there was one case that I was sort of I was banking on. I had a really good meeting, because those are the most painful ones, where you have a really good meeting.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen for whatever
Nothing
reason.
happens. Yeah.
So I had this really good meeting, thinking, right, this client's going to sign up. And I was on the M6 on the way back from Preston, and I saw the email flashed up on my phone, and I couldn't resist but have a quick look. And the preview basically read, "Unfortunately, we've decided to go elsewhere."
Yeah.
And that was a real breaking point. I was on the M6. I was coming back from a really difficult meeting about my dad, and I pulled over at the next service station and just bawled my eyes out, to be perfectly honest.
Wow.
And at that point you think, what can I do? And I didn't even have at that point Dad to, he's always been someone that I've gone to sort of re-level my head when everything's got a bit much, or it's got a bit, or you've got a bit frustrated with something. He's always been able to ground me from that point of view, and he wasn't there at that point. And that's probably the one that's always stuck in my head
Yeah.
as a real low point. And I now call it my wall. So that's my back up against the wall moment. So
Yeah.
if a client says no, or something goes wrong, in my head I often refer back to that and say, my back's not up against that wall anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not as bad as it was then.
Yeah.
And that's how
Yeah, I really appreciate you, sharing that, because it's obviously a particularly hard time. It's an emotional time as well, and I think that kind of is the whole point of this podcast, really. That people see business owners, they see social media, they see a nice car, or that you're doing well, but they don't see how you got there, or the 30,000 other things that you're thinking of at the same time, or all the personal stuff that you can't put on hold. And unfortunately, business doesn't stop for your, for any sort of personal instance. And I'm pretty sure every person who's listening to this, who's run a business, will have a point in their life where they've had to deal with something, awful, whilst either business related or personal related, whilst trying to keep their head above water. And it is a bit of it's a bit that you don't see, like you said. You just suddenly reach a limit, and the emotion kind of comes out, and it's it's hard. So yeah, I feel for you, and thanks a lot for sharing that, Rob. I appreciate that.
I just want to add, Daddy's fine.
Yeah, I did think at some point we better just get to that point, because I know your dad is okay.
He is.
So
he is you joke about me being a decent golfer. He's a very good golfer.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Despite all of that, I still can get nowhere near beating him. I can hit the ball a bit further past him, but you get nowhere near.
There's no beating him. No
beating him.
Okay, well, we went to the sort of the negative areas there. So, is there a point in your business that you think was a real turning point? So, not necessarily off the back of that particular incident, but just in general, where you just thought maybe everything clicked, or just something happened when you thought, right, yes, this is how I want things to go. Just a moment, really, where you sort of, not necessarily, I suppose, turned things around, because like you said, it is that sort of 4 or 5 years of struggle. You're not necessarily turning it around as such, but maybe just evolving and progressing. But if there was just sort of one particular moment or one thing that kind of did that for you.
I think you're understanding the business that you want to be in. In our business, which is very broad brush, you can deal with lots of different people that have very much different speciality, whether you're dealing with business owners like me, or sportsmen, or medics. You take time. I certainly took time as effectively a general practice advisor, sort of looking after everybody to find your niche, as we mentioned earlier. So there are a few along the way as you establish where you're going, but I think there's been a couple of real turning points, and I think it's been around establishing this office, actually, which is relatively recently, changing our branding to something that really does reflect the type of business that I want to have and how we're going to operate. The other side of it has been hiring the correct people.
Yeah.
So we've started to push recruitment, and certainly my first hire, who's come in here, has brought a load of positivity to the firm.
Yeah.
And everything has sort of evolved from that branding, the having a business that you now have a process for how you're going to grow it, and the right people behind it that have a real positive mindset to buy into that growth. That's been a huge turning point, because actually suddenly I wasn't a one-man band, or I wasn't a solopreneur as I'd call it. I was building something more that was more of what I wanted to be a legacy business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's hard to define a single moment, but you feel it. Yeah, you feel it in actually you come into work and everything you feel is just fits.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to be honest. I haven't just said that social media doesn't reflect reality. Your social media that you've been doing more recently since that rebrand really does reflect, what you do and your business and your personality in what you've been doing. So I, as a kind of client, have noticed that change, and also just I kind of joked about the office initially when we started the conversation, but actually it does make a big difference, and it's even just seeing it in you as well. It's clearly something that you've been excited about, and you've kind of gone in all guns blazing and come out with a great brand that much more reflects what you're doing. So I think actually it is recent, but that doesn't matter. I think it has certainly been a big change from an outside point of view anyway. So I'm not massively surprised that you kind of drew on that.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Chris. It's really nice to hear. We try and have a bit of fun with the social media because again we've spoken about USPs. I want people to see my personality, and I want to see the personality of the business that we have. And those that want to come on that journey with us, then great. It's not all about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about values, and it's about what do you want to achieve. In our boardroom now we have a load of photo frames that are clients' life objectives, and you just look at them and see the varying objectives they have, whether it's to drive a certain type of car, to have free time, have holidays, whether it's to fly first classes when on an aeroplane is one of them up there. It's different strokes for different folks, but it's quite inspirational to have them there and to know that what we're doing around that will help them achieve it. So all that has just been about trying to show who we are and what our personality is.
Yeah,
and try and bring people on that journey.
It definitely comes across. Like I said, I've kind of seen it as you've been doing it, so it's been really nice for me to see, that it's and that you're happy with it as well. That's obviously the most important thing, that you're come to the end of all that work and you've got something actually that's kind of tangible as well when you see it in an office. It sounds a bit silly, I suppose, but your kind of personality is in that office and you can actually see it, which is not always an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sat in my office and we've got a few of the things behind me that matter to me, and photos of my wife and my daughters, and some of the stuff back to my old. I used to go-karting and motorsport to a decent level, I'd say, as a kid. I'm still a massive petrol head. I still love Formula One and things like that. That's reflected here, and the sort of decanter here is my ode to Suits. So I used to love watching Suits.
Yeah, I did. I was going to make a little reference to the car. I did spot it in the background. I wondered if you'd mention it, but I do. I loved Suits as well. It's a great series. What do you think is one of the biggest myths around running a business? Then we've kind of been through yours, your kind of journey there. So, having gone through this, it's 11 years, I think you said. What's the kind of biggest myth that you hear that generally just is completely false?
I think initially it's freedom. Definitely initially it's freedom. It is not, you're your own boss, you set your own hours. It is, you work the hours you need to work to get to where you want to go. And hard work beats talent. Talent doesn't work hard. All those sorts of phrases. You just have, initially you have to work hard. I mean, when I started the business, I was single, so it was easy for me. But I don't think I stepped on a plane for 2 or 3 years, and that was just personal choice. Because I wanted to set some foundations so that when that time did come, where I had a partner or a family, and then the pressure changes, and I do get a bit more free opportunity to have free time now and control hours a bit. But that's only because you've worked hard to establish it. And again, as I mentioned, you may be free from the office, but you're never free from the thoughts in your head that you need to call that ex-client, or I wonder where we're at in this process, or so-and-so hasn't returned my email and I thought that was a great pitch, and are we going to win it or not?
Yeah.
So freedom is definitely one, and then you just got to keep going, never stop.
Yeah. Okay, so last question then, before we kind of wrap up. What is the one piece of kind of practical advice or little insight that you would maybe give somebody who's just starting out or who's in the early stages? You kind of referenced a little bit earlier on, a couple of things, but is there one specific bit of advice you'd like to kind of finish up with?
Believe in yourself, first and foremost. Belief is really underrated these days.
Yeah.
If you're going to set up your own business or do it, it doesn't have to be a big business. We're not looking for all these businesses to become FTSE 100 companies, but whatever you want to do, whether it is professional, whether it is personal, sport related, education related, you got to believe that you can do it. Otherwise you're starting behind already. So belief is the first part, and then the second part is trust the process.
Yeah.
We get times here where it goes a little bit quiet, or have a couple of things that don't come off in a row, and you got to trust the process. And I'll always come back to, right, I'm a bit quiet. What's the process? Start again. I've got personally 4 quadrants that I will try and achieve in every single day, and I write them down every single morning so I can tick them off. Trust the process and it will come round. So believe in yourself, trust the process, and just follow through. I think that's the key to everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, brilliant answer. And maintaining that belief as well is the tricky bit, isn't it? Belief initially when you're all full of full of beans and ready to set up your business, but you have to maintain it and remember why you started it and why you're good enough to do it.
Yeah, trying to keep your emotions really even is really, really hard. And that's where I mentioned earlier that my dad always helped ground me in that.
Yeah.
And one thing he always said to me, which I've always kept through, is if someone sends you an email that you don't like, just wait 24 hours. Don't fire back and react, which definitely 20-year-old Rob would have been firing straight back and making the situation 100 times worse.
Yeah.
I have done it. But he always said to me, just wait 24 hours. Nothing's going to change. That email's still going to be there, but you're going to have taken the emotion out of it and be able to respond properly and representing who you really are, not just reacting on emotion.
Yeah.
It's another process thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that works both ways, actually, when you go in the other end of the scale and you're getting all overexcited about something that may or may not come off, and just trying to ground yourself a bit and remembering, like you said earlier, that if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. If it does, it's great, and we can kind of celebrate it.
It's very apt in my world because, we can only control the things we can control. We can control what the client does for their future and what their future goals are. So we can control those two things. We can't control the markets, and the markets go up and the markets go down. I'm very deliberate, and I don't get excited and beat our chest if the markets have performed well. It's nothing to do with me. We're setting them up for to meet their goal, not to beat an index. Because the market at some point will turn, and I'm not at fault for the turn. So we just have to stay level-headed in good times and in bad times, and remember what the end goal is.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, we're coming to the end, Rob. It's genuinely been a really really, really interesting conversation. Considering I've known you so long, I've actually learned a hell of a lot. So, which I kind of expected, but it's just I'm a nosy person, so I quite enjoy hearing about other people's stories, and I'm sure the people listening as well will have gotten a hell of a lot out of that conversation. So, if anybody does want to find you and get in touch, either just to get in touch with you and with regards to working with you, or on social media, where's the best place that they can do that?
So they'll find my business website, ingramwealth.co.uk. We're on Instagram at Ingram Wealth, LinkedIn, obviously Rob Ingram on LinkedIn. So to have a look and book an initial call if you want. We're pretty relaxed. The initial call is just about getting to know you and understanding your circumstances. It's not about finances at that point.
Brilliant. Well, we'll add all of that information into the show notes as well. So if anybody does want to get in touch with Rob, you'll get all of the information that you need. And sadly, that's the end of today's episode. Like I said, Rob, it really has been a pleasure. So I really appreciate you coming on. And hopefully we'll catch up again. Rob only lives down the road from me, so we can catch up down at the... I won't name the local coffee place just in case I get in trouble, but the local coffee place or... large brewery in Rogerstone in Newport, which some of you may have heard of. You can research it. Brilliant. But thanks a lot, Rob. It's been absolutely brilliant. I'll speak to you again soon.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Chris. Cheers, mate.
No problem. Bye now.